What's up, fellas? Hope everyone's doing well. Another day, another defeat. Carlo Ancelotti, football. This is what's going to happen. Um, I try to I, I my goal is always to be objective and try to present the information without being emotional, without, giving people bad information. Um I think we've seen enough so far with Carlo Ancelotti since he's come to Real Madrid to know that he's a guy that has achieved so much in his career. He does so many things so well. But when Barcelona dropped points, I had no confidence that Real Madrid was going to win all their games and we were going to take advantage of the fact that Barcelona dropped points. I knew for a fact either it was going to be the game at home against Getafe or this game where we're going to drop points. I knew that for a fact. I actually thought it was going to be the game against the Getafe. I felt like Getafe is sitting at home, deep block. It has Real Madrid dropping points all over that. Like that, I could see the headlines. This game away from home, San Mamés, not an easy game. Everybody knows that. We clearly sat so deep. We had such negative tactics. The team does not know how to press the ball. We out of possession. We have this 4-4-2 setup. Mbappe does not do any pressing. The guy is jogging. He's like, if I'm a player and I have the ball and I know Mbappe is the guy closing me down, I know for a fact that I don't have to worry about him. He's gonna do a little bit of jog, like 5 yards or whatever, and then he's gonna give up. Even the times where he looks like he wants to close anybody down, he does it. He entertains the concept of pressing the ball, but he doesn't do it because like, what is with this guy, dude? Cristiano Ronaldo, Karim Benzema, some of the greatest ever Real Madrid forwards used to press the ball. They used to out of possession. They used to work for their teammates. Like it all starts from the front. All of the best pressing teams in the world, like when you think of the prime Manchester City teams, the prime Liverpool teams, it all started from their front players. Sadio Mane, Firmino, Salah, those guys were pressing together succinctly. But we have this guy, Mbappe, who's just sitting there jogging. Look, people can miss penalties. That happens. That's part of the game. Anyone can miss a penalty. But it's the lack of conviction for me. To me, when I watch a guy like Mbappe, I see a guy who's not making that much of an effort. It's not good enough. It's really not good enough. You playing for Real Madrid is a big privilege, but this guy he's got his head down. I don't know what is going on with Mbappe. And I'm reading one of the comments about Valverde being trash. Why would he not be trash when the guy is playing every single minute of every game? Valverde is playing for Real Madrid week in, week out. He travels to South America. He jumps on a flight to South America. He's playing for Uruguay. Then he gets on a flight, comes to comes to Madrid, and he's playing the full 90 minutes against Getafe. Today he played the full 90 minutes. The guy's being run into the ground. I'm just looking at Valverde when he's running around the pitch. He doesn't look as explosive or as powerful as a runner as I'm used to seeing from Valverde. I'm looking at Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham is like, like Jude Bellingham and Valverde are the core. They're the heart and soul of this team. These two guys, you need them on the ball as much as humanly possible. But they're being run into the ground. And even in moments where Valverde is getting the ball, not Valverde, but Jude Bellingham, because we're playing in this 4-4-2 formation, Jude Bellingham is doing all the defensive work on behalf of Mbappe because Mbappe is not doing any sort of defensive work. So when Jude Bellingham is getting the ball, oftentimes he's in spots where he's not able to affect the game. So the whole thing is just disjointed. So a couple of notes I'll talk about here. Obviously, I already touched on the lack of pressing from Kylian Mbappe, which is obviously it's not good enough for a club like Real Madrid. And you get away with it when you're scoring goals and you're helping your team, You're the one who's carrying the team. But right now, I'm not seeing any of that from the guy. So the least you can do is not be a liability to your teammates and work for your teammates and do something to track your defenders. Um, I touched on the fact that Valverde looks like he's fatigued and tired. But when is the next time Valverde is going to get a day off? Look at the schedule. The next game is away from home as well. Then you have Atalanta. If we play against Atalanta like this, Real Madrid is out of the Champions League. We are not going to make it to the next stage of the Champions League. Like, I don't think people understand the seriousness of the situation. Real Madrid is in a position now where we can easily get knocked out of the Champions League. Like, first of all, Brest is not an easy team. We've seen how well they've played. That's the last game that we have in the Champions League. We have Atalanta, then we have a German side, our not Stuttgart. If you guys can help me in the chat, I can't remember the name of the other German team we're playing. I know it's at the Bernabeu. It's in January, middle of January. But we have Atalanta. We play them, then Brest. Brest, we could drop points. It's away from home. They're playing well so far this season. Salzburg, thank you. We're playing Salzburg. Salzburg, you guys remember what happened last season when we played at home against Leipzig. If Brahim Diaz was the difference in that tie. He scored that goal away from home. Other than that, it was a 1-1 draw at the Bernabeu. The margins are thin. The margins are so thin. Valverde today makes a mistake. Why is it that Real Madrid is dropping points? Because a mistake that could have happened to anybody. Valverde has saved us and helped us so many times. He does so much work, so many defensive interventions. The guy. We have to protect a guy like Valverde at all costs. He does not deserve any of the blame today. I don't blame Valverde for a second. He should. I love Valverde, and I hope he understands that the fans do not attribute this loss to him in any way. But rather, it's the team is not set up to succeed right now. You look at a guy like Kylian Mbappe, clearly a guy like that is just so long on confidence, but he's also not being put in positions where he can start to build, to have a foundation to build from. Brahim Diaz, I'm not sure why he was on the bench. I assume it's because he had some sort of injury after the game against Getafe. But you see the spark that he had as soon as he came on. Luka Modric looked really bad. Again, came off the bench, 39 years old, and they're talking about give him one more season. Bro, Luka Modric, we love you. You're a Real Madrid legend. Leave the football before the football leaves you, man. Call it a day, man. Walk away with your dignity. Dude, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this about a Real Madrid legend like Luka Modric. It doesn't make me happy to say these things. We don't want to see a guy like Modric walk out at the bottom. But so far, he hasn't played well this season. He's had a few moments here and there, but today he was bad. He gave up the ball in a lot of moments. He was a liability. Let's keep it real. Luka Modric was a liability today. Giving you a contract extension, come on, man. It's not justified. And especially when you need to invest more time in these other players. Dani Ceballos played well against Getafe. Okay, that's cool. I'm glad. Like, yes, we can all agree that Dani Ceballos played well against Getafe. But you're gonna start him in a game away Salma Mes in a game like this? I don't know if I agree with that. I'm not saying he was awful today and he played badly. Couple of those passes that Ceballos made could have easily been interceptions that could have led to goals. In a game where you're at home, you have more control, you're playing against a lower side, Ceballos is good for a situation like that. When a guy has one good game, you evaluate things and you say, okay, he's earned the opportunity to have more minutes. But does it make sense to play Dani Ceballos in a game like this, away from home, Salma Mes? You know it's going to be a tough tie. It's a very physical team. The entire setup of this game was very defensive and negative. The game away at Anfield, you could tell that Carlo Ancelotti had this concept in his head where he said, this team is not going to sit in a deep block because if you invite pressure, you give your opponents opportunities to score goals. So we're going to try to push up and not sit in a very low block defensively. But today, he did not subscribe to that same philosophy. He's decided to go with the double pivot of Chouameni and Ceballos. He decided to be a little bit more defensive, and the team struggled to create a lot of chances. So that was a miscalculation on his part. Carlo Ancelotti this season also hasn't he so many times he's relied on individual moments of brilliance from players to save him. The team's not playing well. The team's playing poorly. Boom, Vinicius out of nowhere scores a goal, does a ridiculous assist. All of a sudden, Real Madrid's back in the game. But those individual moments of brilliance have not happened. So that is part of the issue. We can all agree as Madridistas, we see this team play week in, week out, and we see that the process is not good enough. It's the way the team is creating chances. It's the way the team that's getting into the final third. Everything is on a whim. Everything is trying to find a way to connect the attack with the midfield. But it's not good enough. It's just not good enough. If this team playing like this is not going to win the league, let alone anything about the Champions League. Right now, our only focus in the Champions League is somehow getting a result away at Italy against a team that presses really high up the pitch. Atalanta beat Bayer Leverkusen. They beat Arsenal. They're a very physical team. They press high. Sleeping on a team like that, you could drop points easy. And before you know it, you're out of the Champions League. You don't win La Liga, no major trophies. Look, Carlo Ancelotti deserves a farewell that is deserving of a person like that. How many Champions Leagues has he gotten us? 3 Champions Leagues? He deserves our respect. But he's not the man for the future of this club or for these crop of players. One of the tactics that I saw him do though is he had Rodrigo create overloads on the left side. You saw Rodrigo towards the end of the game shift out to the left hand side to try to connect with Mbappe, which he's employed that tactic so many times in the past, where the attackers will create overloads a little too late. The substitutions, bringing in Arda, bringing in Modric, when there's what was it, 85th minute when he made those substitutions? What are they supposed to do in 4 minutes? What do you want them to do in that amount of time? Why are you waiting until the end of the game to make any type of substitutions? Why are you not making those changes earlier? So again, he is not himself this season. And I've seen reporters in the press conferences say the same thing to Carlo Ancelotti is he doesn't seem to be the same cool, calm, collected guy he's always been. This season, he doesn't seem like he feels like he's falling apart. Ferland Mendy gives up a penalty against Liverpool. The old Carlo Ancelotti doesn't immediately substitute a player, destroying his confidence. Arda Güler gets one of his first starts in a long time away at Anfield, doesn't perform the best. And what does Carlo Ancelotti do? Does not let him get anywhere near the field as a result of that bad performance. Instead of like building these guys up. So when they do get a rare start, they're not ready for it and they don't perform well. So this is all come down to mismanagement. Whether we talk about Jude Bellingham being run into the ground, whether we talk about Fede Valverde being run into the ground, being exhausted, whether we talk about the fact that when Arda does play, he's rusty, whether it's Mbappe missing penalty after penalty, he should not take another penalty again. Can we all agree? Kylian Mbappe, no more penalties, okay? The pecking order tonight should have been, first of all, look at the confidence in which Jude Bellingham took his last penalty. Jude Bellingham had 1,000% belief and conviction in himself. Mbappe went up for that penalty. I swear to God, I was like, he's going to miss. You could see it in his eyes. The guy has no belief in himself. A guy that's running on that, his confidence is so low. I'm not saying never let him take a penalty again. Let the guy build up some confidence first. The guy's running on no confidence. He does not believe in himself. Do not let him take a penalty when the team is down 1-0. We need that goal urgently. Give it to Jude Bellingham. Jude Bellingham has the utmost belief in himself. And the penalty he took over the weekend, you saw how he sent the keeper the wrong way. So a lot a lot of mismanagement issues clearly at Real Madrid. And yeah, I think we all see the issues here. And the issue starts with Carlo Ancelotti. Xabi Alonso, I think you need to start engaging with him from now. Ask him, what players does he want? Can we get Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen? Try to consult with Xabi Alonso what he thinks is the best solution for a guy like Mbappe. Because the ideas that Carlo Ancelotti has implemented so far are not working. And you guys remember, like 2 weeks ago, Ancelotti said, "We have found the answer." That's what he said. You guys remember this? This was right before the international break. He said, "We have found the answer." Is this the answer, Carlo Ancelotti? Is this the answer you were talking about? This, which is another defeat, the same shit that we're used to seeing, but you keep talking about being compact and being strong defensively. The team looks just as bad now as it did in the beginning of the season. There's practically nothing better now than from what we saw earlier. Like I said, Carlo Ancelotti, we love you. Thank you for everything you've done for this football club, but you're not the right man for this job any longer. And Mbappe is really getting to dangerous territory right now. Mbappe is getting to some really dangerous territory because the crowd has been with him so far. At the Bernabeu, I've heard the chants Mbappe, Mbappe, which is amazing. We need to get behind our players, even when they're having bad games. You can't have it that players who play for Real Madrid are getting booed by their own fans at their own stadium. That's not cool. But now you're costing the team points game after game after game. It's to the point where you're a liability to the team. You are literally hindering your teammates from winning games at this point. Not only are you not playing well, but you're a liability. You're costing them games. And very shortly, this can get to a point where the entire Bernabeu is booing Kylian Mbappe. And I don't want to see that happen. But that is where we're headed right now. If we see a situation where the highest paid player at the club who signed a 5-year contract is getting booed by the entire Bernabeu and is hated by Madridistas after just signing a 5-year contract, he's making 600,000 euros a week. That's more than any player in the team. If he's getting booed at his own stadium and Real Madrid fans around the world start to get on this guy's case, we have a big problem. And I don't know how you solve that problem. What are you going to do? You're going to go out into the transfer market and try to sell him, especially with the way he's playing? How are you going to recoup your investment? The sign-on transfer, not only what they gave him for the transfer fee, but the image rights. One of the biggest issues we have at Real Madrid is the image rights. Only Cristiano Ronaldo was able to negotiate, after Florentino Perez became the president, a higher cut of the image rights. He was able to get more than 50%, but Florentino Perez has a very strict rule about players only getting 50% of the image rights. And that's where Real Madrid makes most of their money, is on the image rights. But Mbappe got a huge chunk of the image rights, in addition to a huge sign-on bonus, in addition to the fact that he's the highest paid player. So not only did he cost the team a win at Anfield by missing that penalty and just being poor overall for his entire every touch he had was abysmal. Today he was not good, and he missed the penalty. The cost the if that goal goes in, we don't know what happens. But all I know is that gives Real Madrid a lot more time and a higher margin of error. So again, dangerous territory. This needs to get resolved, and it's actually low key very it's terrifying. Because if we can't figure out what happens with Kylian Mbappe and this continues, it's one thing to bring a guy like Hazard from Chelsea to Real Madrid. We paid 100 million euros for Hazard when he came to Real Madrid, 100 million euros, but it was nowhere near this type of situation where the club was waiting for him, gave him the image rights that he wanted, highest paid player in the team. Hazard was the highest paid player in the team, but Mbappe is now. Vinicius is clearly the better player. But the whole thing is a mess. So, anyways, that's pretty much all I got for this one. Anything in the comments? Let me just quickly take a look here. Mbappe needs to practice penalties. I totally agree. But the thing is, how much is the practice I don't know if it's a practice thing. He could look amazing in practice, but when it comes to execution, this is if you guys saw my video that I made on Davide Ancelotti and how he selected the penalty kick takers against Manchester City in the Champions League, I talk about the fact that Davide went around talking to players and asking them, "How do you feel?" He didn't say, "Who are my top 5 best penalty kick takers, and those are the guys who are gonna go out there and take the penalties." No. He went out there, he spoke to Fede. Fede told him, I feel exhausted. I ran myself into the ground. I'm not feeling it." He's like, "Okay, that's fine." He went to Militao. Militao said, "No, Ederson knows me from the national team. I've taken penalties against him in practice for the national team. I don't feel comfortable." He's like, "Okay, cool." Went around Jude Bellingham, "You feel good?" Rudiger was like, "I feel confident." He's like, "Okay." So you don't go with the talented guys for penalties. You go with the guys high in confidence that believe in themselves. You don't go for the guys that are the best in training for penalties. And right now, Kylian Mbappe clearly is not the guy who's high on confidence. I would not put him as the number one choice for penalty kicks right now. Now, that is contributing to his bad form. Him missing these penalties is only exacerbating the issue. That's why you need to take him off penalties. I'm sorry. It needs to be done. Call it whatever you want. Carlo Ancelotti, say whatever you have to in the press conferences. Blame it on you. Blame it on a stomach flu. I don't care what you have to blame it on. But from now on, if Vinny is not available, it needs to be Bellingham first, Rodrigo second. Not Mbappe first, and he talks to Bellingham. No. No more Mbappe penalties. Halas. Let me quickly. Why didn't Jude Bellingham take the pen? I don't know. What Carlo Ancelotti said in the press conferences, he's going to let the players figure it out. The pecking order he said for this game was Mbappe, Bellingham, but Mbappe and Bellingham, he's going to allow them to speak with one another and figure out who should take them. He said if Vinicius is healthy, it would be Vinicius, Mbappe, and he would let them figure it out amongst themselves. When is Vinicius supposed to come back? He's supposed to come back, I think, in a month and a half. So still a little bit of time before Vinny comes back. I don't know if Kylian had not missed the flow, the game, he would have been treated differently. Look, him missing penalties is only making the situation worse. And this is why I think he's not being managed well. Like he starts down the middle. He's being shifted out to the left. He's on penalty duty. He misses penalties. The whole thing is making a bad situation worse. And that's why I'm saying a player low on confidence, don't give him penalty duty. Just don't do it until he recovers his form. Unless it's like a number 9, a striker like a Benzema, like a world-class striker that lives and thrives off of goals. And that's just not him. What Carlo said, Jude must be taking penalties. No, actually, what Carlo Ancelotti said was if Jude Bellingham and Mbappe are on the pitch, that Jude Bellingham and Mbappe need to talk and figure out among themselves who should be taking penalty. Endrick is the truth. Well, we have no idea if he's the truth. As long as Carlo Ancelotti is the manager, you're never going to see these young guys play. So we have no idea. I don't know how good Arda Güler could be. I have no idea how good Endrick can be. But one thing I do know is when you're a very young player, when you're a player who still has so much ahead of you, you know what is the most essential thing for you to achieve your maximum potential as a young football player is playing minutes. That is the number one thing. If you're a young player, the number way for you to achieve your full potential is by playing. It's not by sitting on the bench and getting a few minutes here and there. Look at Martin Odegaard, okay? Martin Odegaard, we had him at Real Madrid. Amazing player, hardly saw any minutes. Who here actually watches Arsenal? Arsenal is my second team. When you watch this guy, you see how good of a football player he is. And all it takes is you playing consistently and being given belief. If the manager tells you that he believes in you and he has the confidence in you and the raw material is there, sky's the limit. And that's why Arsenal's trying to get Güler, because they can see that this guy, the raw material is there. He's an excellent football player. He's just not being managed well. And with the right management, and if he plays enough minutes, there's a bright future ahead of this kid. And same thing with Endrick. Endrick, I'll be frank, I wasn't completely sold on Endrick, but when I saw him play more and more for Real Madrid, I have to say there's something there. But as long as Carlo Ancelotti is the manager, he's never going to get his chance. Um, Mbappe is not done at 25. I assure you. Mbappe is going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out, but I am concerned. I am truly concerned. Um, but will Vinny be back for the Atalanta game? I don't believe he'll be back for the Atalanta game. From everything that I've seen online, he will not be back. Has idea or solutions. I'm tired imagining being beaten. We won't even qualify. Yes. Look, there's no system. And Real Madrid has always argued and said that, well, we're not a system club. And look at how many Champions Leagues we have. And there's a lot of merit to that. You know, when Real Madrid does face elite teams in the knockout stages of European competition, those teams don't know how to set up against Real Madrid because Real Madrid doesn't have a system. One day a player's playing in one position, the next day they're playing somewhere else. But one thing I do know is Carlo Ancelotti, historically, throughout his tenure as a manager in football, he's been a manager over 30 years. He's relied so heavily on individual players like Kaká, players like Shevchenko, Crespo, Cristiano Ronaldo, all of these world-class players. Individual moments of brilliance, organization, remaining compact, defensive responsibility and sacrifice, but individual moments of brilliance. And he's relied so much on players exceeding their XG. But when you have players that are underperforming their XG and you don't have those individual moments of brilliance, this is what happens. This is the result of that. So, can Real Madrid still achieve something this season? Yes. Do I think Real Madrid should sack Carlo Ancelotti before the end of the season? No. You have to go with him for the rest of the season because they've made it very clear that if Carlo goes anywhere, Solari will be the manager. So you have to write it out with Carlo and help him out. Talk to him if he needs anything in the winter transfer window that's not going to affect the Trent deal or the Florian Wirtz deal. Okay. Short-term signings. Okay. Lucas Vazquez did well today, but defensively, he could have got cooked. So if you had to prioritize somebody in the winter transfer market, it's if you can get somebody that will rotate Bellingham and Valverde more, do that. If you can get somebody that is more reliable defensively to play as a right back, that's the priority. But that's all I got for this one, guys. I don't know if it's similar for you guys, but all of my friends hate Real Madrid. So every time Real Madrid loses a game, I have to hear it. My phone is just blowing up. So I have to deal with this bullshit. But we'll see. Man, this is it pisses me off. But let's hope the team can fix up. The big one, like I said, is Atalanta, and that's the one where we cannot afford not winning. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you for jumping on here. And I'm not ready to say Real Madrid is not going to do shit. I believe Kylian Mbappe can still do something before the end of the season. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys, and Hala Madrid.